Starshines, tangent spinner here, spinner of tangents and rants of random. Little bit of an update before we start reading part 2 of chapter 8 of WebMage. I was upside down. It's right side up now. So yeah, I dyed my hair. Nice bright red. Loving it so far. I had it up in pigtails at work the other day. 2, had my water tested again. Once again, the ammonia levels skyrocketed. They don't know how the fuck why. But apparently my tank is not keeping bacteria levels well. So I went to a new fish store today and got water, an actual live plant whose name is Henry. And they let me borrow a bubbler. And when I say borrow, I mean literally borrow. They just handed it to me and told me to bring it back when I could. Which part of me is like, bro, you don't fucking know me. I could sell this or some shit. And the rest of me is like, oh my god, thank you. But I'm in the middle of something, Marie. Go play with your bed somewhere. No. Jackass. But, so, like, in a week, I put the water in, I put the plant in, it has fresh bacteria, I got the bubbler in. Hopefully, in a week, when I get the water tested again, everything will be okay. If not, they said that they'd help work with me and everything like that. This place is fucking fantastic. Okay, they had stingrays, eels, pufferfish, angelfish, freshwater, saltwater. They grew coral. They grew reef things, like not just coral, but like actual like foresty thing, reef. They grew the plants. They grew rocks. Like, I was just walking around this whole place going, oh my god, I want to live here. They had crabs. They had starfish, anemones. I was so stoked. So yeah, no, probably no longer going to be going to PetSmart for things. Probably just going to be going to Live Art Aquatics on Nolan Road. Which I'll probably, you guys will probably see a video. I'll probably put one up when I go back there. I'll ask permission and everything. But if nothing else, I'll put a description down in the bottom of that video. Not this one, but that video. So you guys can fucking see it. But the pictures don't do it justice. It is just amazing in there. Anyways, but yeah, no, so yeah, there's that to look forward to. Alright. I am ready. We're going to do part 2. Where we left off, Rayvern had sequestered himself away in in a snowy little cabin that sounds like he's going to get murdered in pretty much in the middle of winter with snow up to his ass cheeks type shit to try and hack into the Fate core through ley lines. And Melchior is very unhappy about it. But yeah, so alright, we left off with him ordering Melchior back into his laptop state and then like being all like, I'm super happy that you're not like, you're making your own decisions because it says that I'm an awesome coder, but also the fuck are you not doing your own decisions? That's not right. But anyways, so we left off there. So we're taking off from that point. Time to play with fire again, I typed. Are you ready? As ready as possible with that freezing plug jammed into my port. Don't worry. Things should heat up pretty quick once we hit Atropos' wards. Wonderful. My first exploratory program snaked its way through the ley net with no resistance. The code weasel slid easily from silken cord to glass fiber to magical line. It slithered forward until it was just inside the nexus, stopped, and waited for further orders. I let it remain there, autonomous. There we go. For over an hour. I was feeling very cautious. Then I sent a quick query and the weasel speed dumped its core into Mel's secure memory buffer for a virus check. The picture that appeared on Mel's screen looked something like a spiderweb made of rainbow neon. In the center was a semi-symmetrical structure of interconnected lines. From the junctions of this central mass came 3 major and 5 minor strands. Each of the larger strands left the nexus, then abruptly changed color. This represented the fact that they didn't follow the local topography, twisting off into alternate... Sorry, my video cut out, so get back to that. This represented the fact that they didn't follow the local topography, twisting off into alternate phase spaces instead. These were the links that tied the ley junction into the Fate servers. The cyan went to Lachesis' network, the yellow to Clothos, and the magenta to Atropos'. Hers was the brightest of the three, because it traced straight back to the server, where the other two patched into their respective systems farther out. I carefully examined the strand on which the weasel had centered its attention. At the end of the line to Atropos.web was a tiny object almost exactly the same shade and saturation of magenta. With almost nothing to distinguish it from its surroundings, it should have been very easy to miss. But finding holes is what I do best. Zooming in, I saw a small scorpion-like thing whose stalk-mounted eyes tracked slowly across the whole node in a regular circular motion. Its tail, which lay across the junction of a strand and node, tensed and untensed in a barely perceptible rhythm. "Gotcha!" I typed. Melchior flashed a comment on his screen. "What are you talking about? Don't you see it? What I see is an elegant and deadly little piece of security programming. It's tiny and hard to spot, like a passive sentry, but it's obviously active, and, knowing Atropos, deadly fast. I don't want anything to do with it." All true. The spell had some of the same baroque beauty. Sorry, guys. Apparently, I don't speak English today. The spell had some of the same baroque beauty her puppeteer spell possessed, albeit on a much smaller and simpler scale. Atropos was a real artist where it came to coding. If she had any flaw in her style, it was a tendency to let elegance get in the way of function, as she had done here. "So you don't see it," I typed. "What? Look at how it moves its eyes, and the way the tail twitches. They're running in a steady pattern." Atropos had to sacrifice something to put all that nastiness into such a pretty little package. She didn't have room for a random number generator, so she built in a set alert cycle. That means we can slip by in the gap when it resets the start of its loop. When do you suppose that is? Every time the eyes look top center, the tail extends into the ley line. That's probably the upload cycle, when it dumps its memory back into the server. So the gap comes when the tail is at maximum contraction. I think you're right. Hell, if we slip a weasel in, it can attach itself to the back of the scorpion's memory packet and get a free ride all the way to the server. Exactly. It took 5 minutes to patch a command sequence together and send it to the weasel. This time, I went to keep an eye on things in real time, so I sent a second weasel to observe. Once that was in place, I sent the execute command to Weasel 1. It waited for the right opportunity, then darted forward. I held my breath when it passed from node to line, but everything went smoothly. On the other side of the Guardian, it paused and dropped a relay before grabbing onto the back of the next packet upload. We were in. "All right, Mel," I typed. "Wait for the all clear, then set the hook." Waiting. There was a delay of perhaps 15 minutes, and I became antsy. "Connect. The weasel has landed. Establishing bypass link." That was it. Our code weasel was inside the server node, and we could set up the direct in-web link bypassing Atropos' security completely. Run Melchior. Execute, I typed. "Next time, could you remember to disconnect the cables before I change, boss?" he said as soon as he was back in web-goblin shape. Then, with a scowl, he pulled the connector from his nose. I grinned. "Whatever you say, Mel. We've got our keyhole. Let's use it. Melchior, establish a locus transfer protocol link with Weasel 1. Execute." While he pulled tools from his belly pouch and went to work drawing the hexagram on the floor, I prepared for the transition. Opening my pack, I pulled out a pair of high court boots, a green silk tunic, a black half cape, and my sword belt. Sorry, it backed out again, so I pulled on a pair of black half cape and my sword belt, at which point I said, "No capes, because you should never wear a cape. Capes are a liability. Never wear capes." Anyways. I took my synthetic ski boots off and replaced them with the leather ones. My shirt and sweater were quickly swapped as well. The tights, of course, remained. I grabbed one of my ski poles and flicked a hidden catch. Taking the handle in one hand and the shaft in the other, I pulled gently. Out of the shaft slid the silver-cased damascene blade of my rapier. This went in the scabbard on my left hip. The long parrying dagger concealed in the other pole went into the one on my right. That left only one detail, my face. I had no intention of being seen when I got to the other end, but family protocol insisted I do things properly. Besides, There was a chance I was going to die in the attempt, and I wanted to look good for the funeral. It struck me then how odd that might seem to a mortal. Here I was preparing to commit a serious crime against another member of my family, and I was worrying about my appearance. But it would have been unspeakably rude to do things any other way. We cheat and steal from each other, break each other's codes, and trash each other's files, even kill one another. But that's all politics and therefore acceptable, simply part of what it means to belong to the extended family of the Titans. How we do things, on the other hand, belongs in the realm of etiquette, which is inviolable. Sounds like invaluable, but it's inviolable, which means you can't violate it. We'll only do unto each other while wearing our real faces and our formal best. To do less would be to diminish ourselves. I'm not certain why court protocol and garb had advanced up to the Renaissance and no further, but I suspected it was because my clan matriarchs had rather liked Queen Elizabeth's style. Sorry, it cut out again because apparently my memory space is bad, but I'm almost done, so there's that. I whistled the code sequence that released the illusion covering my features. There was no physical sensation as the top of my ears elongated and sharpened to points once again, and my pupils resumed their natural cat-like slit. A full-fledged child of fate once more, I was ready to enter the demesne of Atropos. I turned back to Melchior. He stood beside the completed hexagram, working his jaw like a shortstop with a mouthful of chaw. Ew. After a moment he spat a net spider into the center of the drawing. It paused long enough to set a softly glowing anchor line, then vanished with a soft pop of inrushing air. Merlin, stop. Like a bubble bursting. It was back an instant later, and Melchior scooped it up and popped it into his mouth. He made a face at the bitter taste. LTP link established, said the web goblin, connecting to mtp://imweb /weasel1 at /atropos.web/server/cord. A series of sharp hisses and buzzes passed his lips before he continued. Connect. Initiating gate procedure. The glowing end of the anchor changed from gold to green. Melchior bent on one knee and pulled on this small green nodule. The green light expanded to fill the whole diagram, then started to climb like liquid poured into a hexagonal glass. When the column of light was about 6 feet high, it shifted from green to blue. The way was open. So that was the end of chapter 8. So we've seen Raven has successfully managed to hack his way into the back gate of Atropos' web. And they're using bigger words as descriptors now, which I appreciate, but it's also frustrating because, as you guys heard, I will mispronounce words because I know what the words mean, and I know what word they're trying to say, or at least I know what words they're trying to use to describe. But it's like, if you've ever seen a word for the first time written that you know what the word is, and you spend like 30 seconds going, the fuck is that? Kaleidoscope, for example. Look up how to spell kaleidoscope. It looks weird as shit. You take like 30 seconds going, kaleidoscope. It's fucking frustrating sometimes. But yeah, no, so that's it for this video. Sorry for all the cutouts, like I said. I forgot to delete the last video's parts from it, so it had too much memory used up. But, yeah, no. So, look forward to the fish video for next week. And part 1 of chapter 9, which will be coming soon. So I'm going to spin on out of here. You all know how the internet and YouTube works, hopefully by now. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever. Do it for Murray. Do it for Merlin. Do it for Merlin. Mwah. But yeah, no. So, spin on out. Just remember, you guys, you're all my sunshines, alright? See ya.